At KenSci, we have traditionally allowed our customers to access the platform side of our business through KenSci.io. In this instance, I'm going to show you the model bank. So in the model bank, we have a very large variety of data science models built by KenSci, but also by partners such as University of Washington, Microsoft, etc. So each one of these is a data science solution to a specific problem within healthcare. Once we've produced that solution, we switch over to KenSci AI, which is where customers can then access the analytics that we put together for them. So in this case, we're looking at emergency department operations, and so this is a live dashboard used by patients to manage ED flow. However, there are plenty of opportunities where customers have expressed an interest in working more collaboratively and proactively together. And this is where KenSci has started our exploration of integrating our apps, either Power BI or apps that we've created ourselves, into Microsoft Teams. So let me show you what that looks like. Here we come into our health system team site, and I can just ask a question about my, let's say, risk of readmission. So I'm going to refer to the KenSci bot. So I'm going to type in at KenSci bot. It's going to select that, and then I'm going to say, give me a bird's eye view on readmissions. When I do that, it's going to return to me a message that says, for major organ systems, which is a diagnostic category, we have 4.7 readmission risk and at a 28.7% risk of readmission. It provides a link into our readmission analytic, in this case an embedded Power BI, where we can get a lot of information about what's going on with readmissions. So we talked about for major organs and systems, highlighting that super category, and there's where we see the 4.7 million in risk and 28.7 million 28.7% risk of readmission. I can from here drill through to the cost mitigation page, where we can work with the CFO of a hospital system and help them understand what it would mean to take the readmission rate from 28% down to, let's say, 12%. And that would generate, just for 1 week's worth of patients, 2.6 million in sales. Now, we also want to be able to work with individual patients. So here's where we come to the third Power BI embedded page. And this is where we can focus in on high-risk patients. And we're going to do that by selecting patients that are at high risk of readmission and high risk of low ejection fraction. And we're going to come back to this major organs and systems diagnostic category. When we do that, we get down to a list of 43 patients. Now here we've embedded a card, and so from this card we can send this patient list directly to providers. So this is a way of we're beginning to take direct action, but using now some of the technologies that are specific to teams, in this case cards, we are going to use the KenSci risk mitigation tool to identify individual patients as well as what their diagnoses are, and then be able to take specific action. So here we've selected high-risk patients from all three of our data models, and this gives us a list of these patients. So I can select an individual patient, Tessa, and see what is going on with that patient, who her provider is, what her risk scores were, and then be able to take an action. So in this case, the insured patient has transportation to follow-up. I'll write a note that says coordinate with Uber Health to get Tessa in to see me. Hit send, and this will then send it directly to the care manager. Now, this is a great tool. We also see the possibility of using this tool within the ED. So in this case, what we're looking at here is actually, this is another embedded Power BI. This one is actually live in a customer site. So here's what it's showing us. You can see the date is current as to when I'm making this recording. It shows patients in the waiting room, patients that are actually being treated, average wait time right now. It shows when we expect ambulances to arrive. So this is look back at current and back 1 hour, and then these are looking looking back over the previous couple hours. We see the census, so how many patients are currently in the emergency department and how many we predict to come in. We see arrivals per hour and then patients by acuity. So if we were to see a prediction of a sharp increase in the census, we would want to be able to alert a care manager or a scheduling manager and say, listen, we need to bring in some more resources in order to deal with this demand. We've made a very simple start to this by saying, again, working with a KenSciTeamsDemo. So at KenSciTeamsDemo, and then show me a short staffing card. When I do that, it brings up a very simple card, as in call a nurse. I click this button and it says 3 nurses are notified. Now this is of course very rudimentary, but we do see the ability to use this in a much more detailed and appropriate way in order to make sure that we do get right resources coming into the ED. So this is a pretty basic approach. So we would call this Gen 1 of our team's usage. We want to move to a Gen 2 where we're looking at, say, a length of stay solution. So how do we move patients out of the hospital into, let's say, a shared nursing facility or a long-term provider, or get them back home. And so one example of that might be using this KenSite patient chart and being able to get many of the actions that we've worked through with the Microsoft engineering team to help us make this type of scenario real. So in this case, select one patient that's at high risk, see that she's at high risk for both readmission and mortality, and want to understand even more detail about her, so we drill through to the patient detail chart, where we're getting live updates on which medications is she taking, which is she at risk of noncompliance for, what her admission history is, and then what actions we want to be able to take in order to help her manage her health more effectively. So this could well be the basis of Gen 2 for us. Hope this has been useful. Thank you very much. And I'm out.